everybody? How do you feel? See, again, in Buddhism everything is okay. You feel great, fantastic, it's easier to practice, you're more relaxed, it's easier to be here, like to stay with the mind, whereas if you don't, you're not so distracted, you don't feel great. It's also good because then you can practice patience, diligence, you're exhausting negative karma, so whatever it is okay. So very often there's this question, but what do I do? How long do I practice patience, meaning just not doing anything about it, and when do I start to do something about it? Because just not doing anything about it is also not really what is asked for. So they usually say as a parameter, to see if you feel that the not reacting actually helps you practice, even though you're disturbed and even though you're agitated, but there's one part of the mind who wants to stay there. There's one part of the mind who wants to grow, who wants to transform. Then you just keep there. And again, we start very small. We start, okay, it's hot in here. Or it starts to get hot because the sun is coming. So we feel how the mind is kind of wishing for these machines to come on up there. And then we think, wow, could be that much. It could be so much hotter. It's warm. It's okay. But then we start looking around maybe, and we see somebody wearing a sweater. So we go, oh, maybe it's just me who has experienced that as hotness. Maybe somebody else feels very comfortable with that temperature. So we try to feed the mind informations that will help it to relax. Okay? Also now is what? It's October. Soon winter is coming. So, then you will be too cold without these machines up here. So this is how we start to work with the things, to see that everything really is relative, and we can transform, or we can use everything that comes our way. Yeah, like there's this big part of the practice which comes after you have decided to become a Buddha, or to attain enlightenment, which is called Lojong, where you actually welcome difficult situations. And sometimes people misunderstand that a bit. It's not like you go and throw yourself on a sword or something like that. It's not that you go into a very dangerous situation with people who are really out to harm you. But whatever comes your way, you welcome it and you see, wow, great, another occasion to practice. And what we used, because we had a Lojong course last weekend, so what I used is like, formal, just the way we start is like if you want to learn to surf. So then you would buy a paddleboard, or you would rent one. It's kind of much easier than kiteboarding, I think. But your goal is to go kiteboarding. So, but you wouldn't start like this, and you wouldn't go if you have never done it, and you get a kite and a board, and you wait until it's the most windy day with really high waves. Well, I don't think you would have much fun. You would see all the others, having so much fun and jumping and going, and so that can either discourage you when you see them and you go, oh, I don't know how to do these things, or it can encourage you and use your wisdom and ask them, hey, how are you doing this? And then they tell you how they started with a paddleboard. So when I look at people on the paddleboard, it looks pretty boring to me, to be honest. But this is how you have to start. Yes, so you have to start somewhere. So this is what I'm saying. You start with not so difficult things. And then as you see that this works, these methods of transforming, practicing patience, it really starts to work. And then you go on to bigger things. But the problem with us is that we neglect the small things because they're not disturbing us so much. And then something big happens, and then we want to work with that. And then it's like going on the, kite surfing. And then we crash. And then we start to have two problems because then we don't forgive ourselves for not being able to forgive. Because forgiving seems such a nice idea, and it seems such, so noble. And whatever I'm telling you over this weekend, I'm sure all of you know it. It's just that we go the other way. So, but in case we have somebody here that really doesn't want to learn to forgive, then you're in the wrong place. Then you will just get angrier, angrier and angrier and angrier, because this is it. Like, then you would be like you're in the kite surf school, but you actually wanted to go to the movies or something like that. So then, of course, you wouldn't be very interested. But again, just one thing. Do not force yourself to do anything. Do not believe anything that I'm saying, but also do not totally disbelieve it. But weigh it up. You're all intelligent people. So we have this box up here who can think about things and who can weigh up. And even though we don't really see the future, but we can say, what will happen if I start to take this view on board? What will happen if I start to believe this? And what happens if I keep kind of holding on to the views I already have? The views I already have, or my habits, my way of acting, is that really how I want to be? This is what you have to ask yourself. Because learning about transformation and then not wanting to transform, you just make your mind more confused than it already is. Yeah? So let's do short contemplation. The contemplations are, it's not like fully blown analytical meditation. Sometimes people call it like this. Analytical meditation would be, you are very familiar with the point. You don't need anybody to lead you. Yeah? You're very familiar with the point, and the mind automatically goes there to strengthen that, the reaction that comes from thinking, thinking about that. For example, when you have a neighbor that really gets on your nerves, you do analytical meditation on that person. Because the mind automatically goes there. You hear noise that comes from the person, immediately it could be somebody else. But no, the mind was so familiar that every noise that disturbs me comes from the neighbor. And the mind you keep the mind there, and you keep listening, and you keep turning yourself up, and it makes you more and more and more upset. If that would be your lover, that you have been expecting for, he was maybe abroad, and finally you hear, or somebody that you fell in love with, which lives like next door, and finally you hear, wow, he's back. All the noise. Then also you do analytical meditation, but out of attachment. You would bathe in these sounds. He would blow his nose and you'd think, oh, poor thing, maybe he's got a cold. If it's your favorite enemy neighbor, then good thing he's got a cold. I hope he's gonna die about his cold or something like that. The problem is we're not really thinking that consciously. That is the problem. Because if we would see our thoughts, we do think it, but because the mind is somewhere else, we're not really here. It just comes like automatic, but the problem is that it does produce something. It does strengthen reactions toward things on the mind, and then it comes automatically. Then this poor neighbor, he's not even allowed to sneeze anymore, even though he does have a cold. Yeah? So like this. So this is what we're trying to do. Now the reflections are just to listen what I say, take the thought and think about it. If a reaction comes, like some kind of aha feeling, it comes. If no reaction comes, it's also okay. Yeah? It's a little bit like medicine. Like if you have a headache and you take medicine, the mind state that you have before you take the medicine is different than the mind state that you have after the medicine, even though the headache is still there. So it's a little bit like this. Do not expect like big things to happen, because then you will be stuck in a mind state that is totally not with what is happening, but who is apart from it and goes, oh, I want something to happen. And you're just, constantly expecting something, and you're stuck there instead of noticing what is going on. So just relax and take these thoughts that I'm going to give you, because it is about expectations. And one thing is, if you're also about, because it's a difficult topic, this forgiving thing and being forgiven and all that, when you feel your mind is going into guilt, don't allow it to go there. You're not the worst of the world. Usually it goes, wow, I'm so bad and I'm the worst of all and all this. I can bring you people who are much worse than you are. So don't believe that ego who says, oh, I'm so bad and this is terrible and I can never change and all this. This is just coming from a wrong conception of what and who we are. This is it. It's totally exaggerating. Yeah? There's an intelligent mind who can say, hey, you're not so great, you have to apply a bit more, you have to be a bit more attentive, and you can apply more effort. But this one that, I'm so bad, and when it closes, everything closes up in here. The head, even if you want to hold it like this, goes like that. Yeah, there's hot feelings coming up and all this. So don't go there. It's going too far. We're here to learn. I mean, I don't know about you, but my life for me is to learn. To learn what? To become a kind person. It's as simple as that. I'm not even wanting to go that much further. Because I know I've hurt many people with my aggressiveness. So if, in case, I hurt some of you, because maybe my answers that I give to your questions seem to be quite sharp in the like that. It's not my intention, okay? So I do feel terrible about it afterwards. I prefer to be kind to people. The thing is, the habit is not as strong as it used to be, but it's still there, and I can feel it. So I am here to transform. I use all of you. Thank you very much. It's great that you always come into the courses. For me, it's actually enough if it's 1 or 2 people, because it makes me repeat these things again and again and again and again and again. And then it really becomes analytical meditation, because I hear it, even comes out of my own mouth, but it doesn't matter. I didn't invent these things. I learned about these things. But my mind is exposed to it again and again and again and again and again. I guarantee you, none of you, maybe you do, but otherwise none of you goes to teachings as much as I do. Because almost every weekend I have a teaching, very often during the week also, about how to transform the mind. So thank you very much. This is thanks to you, because if you wouldn't come, if nobody would come, I don't think I would be sitting here talking. I even doubt that I would be pondering the whole weekend on how to forgive. So thank you very much. I'm actually exploiting you or taking advantage of you. So thank you for coming. Maybe you'll get some benefit out of it also. So you see, you think you're dependent on me. I'm just as dependent on you as you maybe are on me for knowledge and for all that. So we're trying to look at expectations that we have, that we don't, that they're not in the head. We have them like gut feeling, okay? So again, if you can, sit with a straight back. Close your eyes and relax. Take a few deep breaths, really come here to the present. I don't know if you were going for a walk this morning or just being here. I think we can really appreciate the peaceful atmosphere that we, this group, who is here with good intention, is creating. Just that. The fact that we are alive, the fact that we can be here, no nagging children, no nagging boss, only our own mind that nags. And you don't have to listen to that nagging all the time. So take a few deep breaths and appreciate that you can breathe. We take it for granted. But imagine being a place where the air is so polluted that whatever breath you take, it makes you cough or it burns your throat. Or imagine having asthma. Maybe some of you have. But looks like at the moment you can breathe freely, so these people would appreciate these moments. Wow, I can breathe freely. Isn't that wonderful? So just enjoy and see what this conscious enjoying, being able to breathe, does to the mind. We're not here to solve any problems, by the way, so let go of that expectation. We're here to be exposed to methods and tools. That's all. So now try to find in yourself the feeling of being special. See, we take ourselves very seriously. We are somebody. If you compare yourself with all the beings that live on this planet, including animals, insects, fish, birds, is that feeling of I'm so special, is that kind of realistic? If it would be possible to make a photograph of all the beings of this planet, so you're there somewhere, but you think you would be able to find yourself in that crowd? And the mind would most probably automatically go there. Where am I? We would exclude everybody else in order to find ourselves on that stupid picture. This is what we do in group pictures, isn't it? Everybody just looks at themselves. So this is why you don't have to worry how you look, because everybody just sees themselves, the same as you do. So because of this feeling of being special, then we put a lot of weight on our shoulders that we have to be not only special but also perfect. So that whenever we make mistakes, we don't forgive ourselves. We get all tense, feel guilty. get tense, we're very far away from our nature of basic goodness, spaciousness. Like the mind has no limits, the heart has no limits. We just limit ourselves. And wisdom and intelligence that we all have. It's already there. Maybe now that you're in a calm state, if you feed your mind these words, I have basic goodness, kindness, spaciousness, and wisdom. Introduce your mind to its nature. And if possible, start to believe in it. Without wanting to be special and perfect, we cover that nature, unfortunately. What happens if you think, I am a good person? Just think it and allow the mind to go wherever it wants to go. Close your eyes, really go inside. Get in touch with yourself. If restlessness comes up or resistance, it's fine. Allow it to be there. If you start to relax, also allow it to be there. Don't be afraid of that feeling of openness that comes when you think, I am a good person. You don't need to find reasons, because otherwise we get caught up in stories again. I'm a good person. Why? Because my nature is basic goodness. That's when I feel the most myself. When I feel spacious, open, and kind. And just stay in that space for a while. Then we try to see our expectations that we have on others. There's a certain group that we call friends. We like them. We appreciate their company. When they are happy, we're very happy. When they suffer, sometimes we put effort into helping them to free themselves, or at least to feel better. But when you look, you can take one person or a few people. What do we expect from them? You actually count on it that they will be nice to us all the time. That they should agree with us all the time. And they should definitely not harm us or hurt us. And we don't see how unrealistic these expectations are. Because very often, especially when it comes to friends, they say something or they do or don't do something and then we feel hurt. And it was absolutely not their intention to hurt us. But it's because they didn't fulfill my expectations. And because they're my friends, they should also be perfect. Because I don't want to be seen with imperfect people. And then we do a very strange thing, because then we have this category of enemies. We call people enemies when they harm us. Funny enough, from them we don't have the expectations that they keep harming us. We have an expectation that they should stop harming us. People who dislike you, again, it doesn't have to be your biggest enemy. Then we have the big category of strangers. That way what we expect from them, they should leave us alone. But if I need help, they should also be there to give me the help that I want. Again, very simple things in the street, on a bus. They should give me their seat because I'm tired. Just only this, going on a bus or going on a train. We have the expectation that I will get a seat. Why? If there's not enough seats, why not you not getting the seat? Then if you get one, because you didn't expect one, you're happy. If you don't get one, you're not unhappy. You don't get upset. We usually go through life that nothing bad or difficult should happen to me. Although we all know how difficult life is. Especially if you study the Buddha's teachings, who started with that. He says life is difficult. Samsaric life is difficult. So we expect not to get sick. We expect not to grow old, or at least not to show the signs of old age. We expect not to have any problems. That's why every time we're surprised when there is a problem, because it shouldn't happen to me. anything with these expectations, we're just looking at them, if they're realistic or not. And to finish, we turn the whole thing around. That we think, my friends have the same expectations on me. Am I willing to fulfill them? Does it seem as natural that my friend is expecting me never to hurt him or her, and always to be there for them, as when I think they should be there for me? When we feel the expectations of others on us, then we go, hey, come on, it's not realistic. So by having no expectations, it doesn't mean you become hopeless. But I mean, we can hope for the best, but also be prepared if that doesn't happen. We're constantly going between hope and fears. Hope that things will be the way I want them to be. Fears that they will not be the way I want it to be. Hope creates attachment and expectations, and fear aggression. So just think about all the situations that you were afraid of. You had hopes and fears from the past. We spend so much time totally lost in hope and fear. And when the situation comes, we react, and then it passes. Hopes will not get you what you want, and fears will not keep away from you what you don't want. It just prevents you from living fully, courageously and open in the present. Did you notice something? Maybe? Somebody? Does it feel totally different when, I expect them to be nice to me, and when I expect them to be nice to me, then that they expect me nice to be them? Does it feel the same? Did you see what I was trying to get at? Some people nod. Can you see how strange we are? We can do the same reflection with anger. This is, it came to me one morning when I was doing my morning practice, and I was kind of upset about something. Let's be honest, I was angry at somebody. And I felt that anger was so right, and so justified, and so 100%. 100% that it's right to be angry because what the person did is bad. Then I kind of, instead of being on the breath, the mind went, she did this and she did that and she's doing that and she's not stopping and she continues, blah, blah, blah. And thought, this is really strange. Whenever I feel angry at somebody, the anger feels totally right, necessary, justified. 100% every time. When I don't examine, when I don't take a step back and go, hey, wait a minute here. Whereas when somebody's angry at me, it's never justified. It's always wrong. It's always not necessary. I thought, this is strange. You know, if it would be, okay, 90% or something. No, it's always 100%. So I was sitting there and I'm thinking, hey, come on, anger is anger. It doesn't really matter if it goes this way or that way. So these are the things that when you start to do awareness meditation and you start to be able to calm the mind, then slowly, when you feel that the mind is stable, then you can start these thoughts, you can invite these thoughts and you can start to compare and to weigh up. And because we have basic intelligence, the mind will then start to understand by its own. Now, that doesn't mean that you will change immediately. Sometimes it does. Sometimes this is actually quite magic. And I'm sure that people who meditate a lot and practice a lot and are exposed to these teachings a lot, sometimes a thought comes up. And sometimes it can just be like, oh yes. And the negative reaction disappears. Whereas before you've been working on that habit, you know, really with a lot of tension maybe also, like a negative habit that you have. You've been working at it and you wanted to let go, but it didn't work and all this. And all of a sudden, out of the blue, not even thinking about it, that thought comes. And then you're able to let go and it's finished. Now, this is not a magic cure. This is by doing these contemplations, even though nothing changes in the mind, but it puts imprints on the mind. So by thinking about these things intellectually, then it sinks down onto the mind, and then all of a sudden the fruit ripens, and that's it, and you're able to let go. So don't give up, especially if it's about, you know, forgiving big things. You have to work sometimes years on being able to forgive. And so that we don't give up the work and that we don't give up hope, it's really good to read comments or books about people who, for example, the Holocaust. I don't remember the names of these twins. They were twins, and the Nazis did, experiments on them. They were one-eighth twin. You call them like this in English. And so one of them, they both survived. So one of them was working on it, and really wanted to live a full life. This is it. She didn't want to spend the rest of her life still locking herself up in a concentration camp. And she succeeded, but only when she was about 80 years old, that she was really able to let go, and she died very peacefully. The other one died as a very, very bitter person. So even people who are so close to each other and have experienced the same thing, these things do not come naturally. These things come because there's a wish to become normal again. Because being bitter is not normal. Now, I'm not talking in terms of normal, the norm. I'm talking in terms of normal, natural. Whatever makes you feel tense, agitated, out of control, is not natural to the mind. It's something that is kind of imposed, induced, and then created, and you can let go of it. So then, at the beginning, if you start with this kind of work, the wish to be, to really sit down and think, do I want to become this bitter person? Who then is totally unable to let go, because the more you rehash what happened to you, depends with whom though, the more you become bitter, because the more you will feel like the victim. Now again, there's always a middle way and there's always balance. It doesn't mean that you're not telling your story. once you have forgiven and there's no more bad feelings about it, then it's good to tell your story, because people also see how it is possible to forgive. They see you totally relaxed, without any anger, without any wish for revenge or anything like that. And maybe you can inspire them. So you see, that would be the benefit. So if you have been harmed in a big way, you could actually then go into, how can that, having been harmed, how can it benefit me and how could it benefit others? That you do this work on forgiving for the benefit of others, for example. So so it becomes much bigger. You see, whatever becomes bigger, when more people are involved, our problem becomes smaller, and the energy to do something is much more there. Like I said, when we did this Medicine Buddha retreat, when Hagit was sick, like, people really wanted to do something. Yeah? Because it wasn't for us. I'm pretty sure if you would have had cancer and you would have been there, your mind would have been less in the recitation of the mantra, because it's for you, than if it's for somebody else. Yeah? So whatever makes the mind more spacious, for the heart and mind, by the way, is the same thing in Buddhism. Yeah? When they talk about subtle mind, they're not pointing here, they always point here. Like this is where the emotional kind of lab is sitting, I think. So the willingness to forgive, also the refusal of that event or these events spoiling the rest of your life, and not just this life, maybe even future life. Because I've seen people die with hate. And people, again, in the past I lied a lot. I was a habitual liar. Now I only exaggerate, but it still kind of goes into lying. I haven't seen people dying. One person. That I was there, was accompanying her. And it wasn't, she was hurt because her son had left for America. And he didn't want to come back. Because she was so possessive. She was like, wow, I'm not her son, and I went there as a nun, and also she saw me as a friend. I had problems seeing her as a friend because I didn't like to go there. They had a beautiful house in Delhi. They always invited me to go and stay there. I preferred Roti Paharganj and paying money than going to that villa, because the energy in that house was like, she took possession of you the moment you were there. Top of it, she had a huge piano, and she was a good piano player. She was also a teacher, but it was like a lot of hours she was on that piano, and also the sound took the whole space in that house. You couldn't do anything. So her son, who was adopted, he left for America. Didn't come back, and this is my son. She bought him. It's not even her son. Okay? So she's had a difficult life also. She had like miscarriages and it never worked and all this, so finally they decided to adopt that son. So then she got cancer. First a sarcoma, then breast cancer, then lung cancer, and finally brain cancer. And she died with this attitude. He didn't come back, because she kept saying, I want him to come back and see in what state he put me, so that he feels guilty for the rest of his life.